Hello and welcome to the Reetin Entertainment Podcast, episode 431 for what's the date today? Oh, December 24th, 2023. Something significant about that, but I don't know what it is. Joining me this week we have Connor the Cyberpunk Monk Besh.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Crimbo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so today is obviously as most people would know, Christmas Eve, and lots of people celebrate that. We are celebrating by having another weekly episode of the podcast. That's what we are doing. Connor's able to make it, but Aroa wasn't because he is out doing stuff with family I think just family. No friends, just family.
I get it.
Yeah, we're not doing anything until later tonight. My girlfriend's bringing her kids over and they're staying the night, but right now it's just being lazy and sitting around the house on a day off, which is nice. Anyway, Connor, where can we find you?
You could find me, and you could find you, and you could find Aroa at aroa.website. All of our relevant social media links are there. And while you're there, or anywhere else that has podcasts for that matter, you should check out the podcasts that I work on. One of them is Bug City Blues, a Shadowrun 6 World Edition actual play podcast. I work really hard on it, and people really like it. I bet you'll like it too.
What
If
about the other
fan-
one? What
Well,
don't we have one that's finished?
We do have one that's finished. That's Clinton's Core Classics, a Rise of the Rune Lords First Edition actual play podcast. Pathfinder, that is. I didn't say that in the spiel. I usually say that, and that's fine. The first season's okay. It's like Star Trek, where like it doesn't get good until Riker gets his beard. Season 2, that's where it really starts to shine, and from that point, I think it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it doesn't get good until we get rid of our cleric.
It doesn't get good until we get rid of our old editor with an asterisk. I don't think they were doing much editing.
Yeah, probably not. And anything else you wanna mention or anything like that?
Social media wise?
Yeah.
No. I keep on saying I'm gonna get into streaming and I want to do streaming, and then the problem is I can't sit and talk to myself for like an hour straight and be entertaining for an audience that's hypothetically not there. Or if they're there, they're not talking back.
See, I can sit there and talk to myself for an hour straight. I'm not sure it's entertaining, but I can do it.
I can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
if I start talking while I'm doing something else, I'll start getting distracted on that thing that I'm doing, or like, not putting all my effort into it.
Yeah.
It's a skill. Like it is genuinely something that needs to be practiced and improved on.
Yeah, speaking of which, that's basically where you can find me. It's twitch.tv/Reetin. I've been doing that for how many years now? Have I been doing streaming on Twitch/Mixer?
7 or something.
Like 8. I think I actually started my Twitch to start streaming in like 2013, but I actually didn't start doing regular streaming until a few years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah,
I remember when you were just dipping your tiptoes into it. It was A, we've known each other for too darn long, and B, you've been doing it for a minute now.
Yeah, and I would like to say that while I might not be the most entertaining, I can at least keep myself. I can keep talking, and it is a skill that you develop because you're like, at least for me, I would rewatch some of my videos and be like, why am I not talking here? Why am I just staring at the screen? And like learning like, hey, I need to be making some noise while I'm doing this instead of just sitting there and watching the gameplay.
One thing I will admit to is I've been watching streams lately just to like try to study not necessarily the successful ones, but just the ones that I find entertaining, to find the stuff that they ramble about. And 9 out of 10 times it's because they have an audience that's participating. I can never get to that point. Like if I'm talking to people, practically begging them to talk, it's like nothing.
Yeah, I tried to do that too, and yeah, I don't have a lot of people that come in, but at least I have enough of a loyal audience that I can sit there and like chit chat with usually. But
What I need is
anyway,
a plant in the audience.
that's what you
That's
need.
the secret to success, I think.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need somebody in there that will laugh at your jokes. and be like, "Ah, you're so funny." You need what was it? It's in the Late Show with Jay Leno. He had Kevin Eubanks who would always just laugh on the side, or
I I feel like I could write an AI that's basically Chat GPT impersonating Andy Richter and have that text to speech into my chat. I feel like I could do that.
I you might get sued, but you can try to do.
I mean, I say Andy Richter just to be like a co-host of comedy. Like,
Yeah.
they don't need to be making the punchlines. They just need to be reacting to shit that's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure you could get something like that. Some AI bot that would like react to what you're saying, but I'm not sure how much that would cost. You'd probably have to pay for the pro plan for that.
So
Anyway,
tune in next week / next year when I find out about having a bot of fake audience members for a Twitch chat.
man, I can't wait until I can do that for my podcast. But that
200 active viewers and they're all telling the exact same joke.
amazing. Can you tell me what games you've played this week?
All right, I got a couple to mention just because I was out last week. The first ones I want to talk about are my VR games. First one is Assassin's Creed. I think it's called Mirage. No, Mirage is the newest non-VR one. They made a VR one. It's pretty damn good. It's not amazing. It's not like I am going to choose to continue playing this in my free time good, but it's pretty damn good. The fact that that's standalone on VR headset blows my gosh darn mind. Second one, Ashura's Wrath 2. Got it for free when I bought my Quest 3. It's okay. I see why people like it and are blown away by it. And it blows my mind that once again, it's standalone on the Quest. I don't need to be connected to my computer. I could bring my headset to work and play this inside of a server room. I'm looking at the camera directly right now. Not that I would ever do that.
No, you don't want to
Wink,
do that. You
wink.
just, what? Why is the server down?
Look, I'm not saying that somebody karate chopped the entire main trunk, but I am saying I was able to throw my axe and take out the giant spider boss.
That'd be great.
That's. Oh no, wait, that's not it for VR. Sometime between the 2 weeks and now, they updated Steam VR to be a standalone app for the Quest,
Mm-hmm.
and wow, I don't need to connect my computer to my headset to play Pavlov anymore.
And is it smooth enough?
It was. It had a couple of hiccups, just teeny tiny ones, like ones where I could tolerate it and continue playing. It is past playable. It is enjoyable.
Good, good. I'm
And then
happy that you were able to do that because we played Pavlov I think once and I wasn't very good at it.
I love Pavlov. It's the most fun way to play Counter Strike.
Probably.
The other one that I played was Payday 2. I want to get that working in VR because the Quest controllers are simpler than the Index controllers. There's a little bit of an issue with the locomotion, but as long as you don't mind actually running around to do shit, it works great. Like, I am so, again, I cannot understate, blown away by how well it works wirelessly. I don't have a fancy router or nothing, and it worked great.
So I do have a question about that. I know you haven't played it at all because it costs too much money and isn't really complete. But have you looked in if VR is available in Payday 3? I don't think it is.
I don't believe it's supported yet. Like, you could probably do VR injection just because the fact that it's not on a very weird engine that needed to be built specifically so it could be uh, piggybacked into it. It's my understanding the VR in Payday 2 is, I don't want to say slapped on because it is impressive, but it's definitely bending it to make it work.
Yeah, I'm curious how that would work with Payday 3, but because I played that a little bit, but we need more people to play it. Basically, I need you to be able to play it with me. That's what
I
I'm
would
saying.
love to play it eventually, but I'm definitely not paying $30 for it.
No, no.
And then I got one more game. Okay. I have a game and then a story. Don't let me not tell the story because I think it's funny. The last thing I've been doing is I've been really, really craving a stealth game, and I specifically wanted one that I can enjoy on my Steam Deck. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just play a little bit of, oh, I know, Metal Gear Solid 5. I'll download that at work and I'll play it for like an hour or two when I get home. And then you know what I did? I sat down and I played it for 7 hours straight.
So an hour or two. Yeah, that sounds about
I
right.
haven't had a gaming session like that since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Totally absorbed in it. I forgot how good of a game this is.
Yep.
I'm I'm still looking forward to play it. If this podcast gets going, I might start playing it while we're talking.
Don't do that.
It might happen.
It's an hour long. You
I might do open world shit. You might hear me. Hey, tell me what you know. Spit it out. We're your friends. Bang bang.
And what was the story that you wanted to tell?
Okay, so you know how I played that game Space Station 13.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on, but there is a tide of new players. We call it a gray tide because staffies show up in gray suits. And I usually just play the clown or the bartender. Like I do very low stress jobs with high opportunities for shenanigans. And because I'm just gonna say a public facing job, these people usually come to me and are like, "Hey, I don't know how to do my job. Hey, where is botany? Hey, I need a shower." Like very basic things. I'm showing them the ropes. One thing that happened while I was showing somebody the ropes is our station was under attack by terrorists who were played by other players
Yeah.
who detonated bombs and they like synchronized detonations. So our part of the station was completely isolated. So I'm like, okay, new plan. I'm gonna show you how to survive a terrorist attack. So
Oh,
I run with them. The first thing I do is like, we need spacesuits. Let's find spacesuits. I break into one of the commanding officer's rooms. So we steal his. I put that on him. I just happen to have one because it was a clown. Of course the clown is a spacesuit. Don't question it. We were
okay.
doing pretty good. We were escaping when somebody managed to see us floating around trying to get back to the part of the station that's not drifting in space. And then they sent a shuttle after us. That shuttle was sent with explosives, and then that exploded. So we were drifting in space. Buddy he didn't make it, and I had lost my legs in the explosion. While I was drifting out there, I had shrapnel next to me, so I picked up the shrapnel and I was like, "Well, you're not using these anymore, are you?" Chopped off his legs, managed to do clown surgery and stitch them onto myself. And thank goodness I was teaching this new guy the ropes because I had his legs stitched onto mine, and I used those to hobble my way to the escape.
You did it. So you won the game.
The guy messaged me at the end of the chat in the Discord. He's like, "I am crying with how much I'm laughing right now."
I do like that you stole somebody's legs.
I needed to get the fuck out of there. He wasn't using them.
Now, without the legs, could you have crawled on your hands,
I would
basically?
not have been able to make it in time if
Mm.
things weren't exploding and if oxygen wasn't a finite resource. Probably eventually could have, but it was time to get the fuck out of there.
Also, how did the spacesuit with your legs blown off not vent all the oxygen out?
The correct answer is because it's a very simple game that is more focused on simulating atmospheres than pressure tanks.
I see.
But yes, that is a valid criticism.
Okay. And we're gonna move on to me and the games I played. So, I played some Starfield this week, and I've said about Starfield that I went in with the expectation that I was going to be exploring planets and doing like Fallout 4 in space. And that's basically what it is. I mentioned to my coworker that I had played Starfield, and his response was, "Oh, Starfield was a disaster." And I was "Uh, like, I don't understand that. Have you played it? What makes it a disaster?" And his reply was, "Oh, well, people are saying that like there were a bunch of systems that were supposed to be in the game that were removed, et cetera, et cetera." I was like, "Okay, what systems?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "So it plays fine. It is exactly what I expected. And you're calling it a disaster without knowing what systems were removed and without ever having played the game. So maybe it wasn't an actual disaster." Like,
Not, oh, sorry.
for me, like saying a game is a disaster would be like what happened last week that we talked about with the day before, where it just wasn't a functional game. And I was just like, maybe you should stop just listening to the crowd and like actually play games. or
Now,
or
I,
what?
I am of the opinion that Starfield, it can be criticized. I think there is a
Yeah, no,
time
no,
and a
that's fine.
place and a discussion where you could do that. But just turning around and being like, I don't like it because everyone else said they don't like it.
Yeah,
That's sheep think.
it
That's not
is.
good.
I,
Be
I
better.
and it's fair to say it's a mediocre game. You could say
It's
it's
a
it's
working tech demo. It
yeah.
it it actually shows that Fallout in space could be turned into a randomly generated based off seed
Yeah.
procedure game.
I just I think the word disaster needs to be and like these types of criticism being like this game is awful, it's terrible, just because it's not exact like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece is silly. And I've seen lots of people online just give Starfield crap just for being not as good as like let's say Fallout even 4. But I'm still having fun like flying around the galaxy. One thing, I wish there were aliens. Like there are aliens, like you go and there are like um creatures that you can kill that are, aliens to our planet, but you don't, at least from what I've seen, you don't really run into like Klingons or Vulcans. There's no other species that's like at our level of intelligence, and I don't like that. I think just a galaxy full of humans doesn't make any sense to me.
Boring. That's
Yeah,
boring.
yeah, exactly.
Not
But
like they
but
don't
it's
know
all
how
right.
to do other races. They've done it in Scram Bam and Elder Scrolls and
Yeah, it's just weird that at least I haven't ran into any, and I played for like 40 hours. Um, and then a game I played for 50 hours, and I'm finally done with Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the something something. Um, Eternal Wings and the Lost
Eternal something and the whatever. I don't fucking know.
and the Lost Ocean. That's it. Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. I have beaten that game, and that game uh could have been like half the length.
Yeah,
It
did you like it? I
I
don't want to like poo poo on it, but I was very bored watching it. The
I can
combat was incredibly repetitive.
Yeah, the combat, like I admire that they tried something new, but as I said in a different podcast that I was on, it sometimes you don't need to innovate. Sometimes you can just be like, hey, turn-based combat by itself is fine, and you don't necessarily need to innovate all the time. And the card system, while it was innovative and unique, it could have I could have taken it or left, like I could take it or leave it, but I can understand why watching it wouldn't be fun. I actually like it's Earthbound, where if you get to a certain level, you just wipe out the enemies of it. Like if they're too low of a level, you're gonna win. So it like goes like it's gonna transition, and then it's like, you got an experience point. Let's move on. And I am shocked that no other game has done that. That being said, Baten Kaitos could have been about half the length. It gets to a point where you resurrect the bad guy, and then they're like, "Oh, you need to go get this mirror to be able to beat the bad guy." And you're like, "Okay, let's go get the mirror." So you get the mirror, and then the mirror breaks, and you're like, "Wait, no, there's a sword. We could go get the sword and beat the bad guy." And so you get the sword, and the sword breaks. Uh, and yeah, that being said, I still had fun, and it's a game I hadn't beaten before. I've had it for years, but I've never beaten it. So I finally was able to sit down and get through all 50 hours of it, and I'll probably never do that again. And it's okay. Anywho, we are going to move on to some news stories. Not a lot of stuff happened this week. And the first is an update. Are you still there, Connor? You seem
Yeah,
quiet. Okay. The first is an update on a story that we covered a while ago. They're not Sony and Discovery are not taking down PlayStation bot shows now. All because of
I
our podcast.
it was all because of us. I was actually going to say I wonder if it's because people complained, but
Oh, that's
I
definitely
mean
why.
we went over that list. It's oh no, we don't have Ice Road Trucker seasons 5 and 6 anymore. Those are popular ones.
Well, I mean, they did have a lot of popular shows. The list here, it's very small. They just say MythBusters, huge show. I can imagine lots of people still watch that on their PlayStations.
Yeah,
Deadliest Catch and Cake Boss. Was Cake Boss popular?
I'm not into that like sphere, but I am aware that the cooking sphere of influence is pretty massive.
Yeah. So it says in all, 1,200 titles would have been affected by the change, and you wouldn't have gotten a refund for any of them. The announcement came shortly after Warner Brothers Discovery, the owner of Discovery Channel, had revealed in an earnings report that its flagship streaming service, Max, lost 2.5 million subscribers over a 6-month period. Oof. It's a lot of not making money there.
Mm-hmm.
Both of Sony's announcements were brief and didn't elaborate on its licensing trouble with the networks, as the New York Times said when the company published the warning that it was going to remove any Discovery show you purchased in the past. Though the situation raised questions about the meaning of ownership in the age of digital goods. Supposedly, buying digital would give you access to the piece of content forever, since there's no physical medium that could break or get lost. As this incident demonstrates, that's not always true, which is, I think we've been saying that for a long time, where we don't we buy a lot of games and stuff digitally, but also it sucks because we acknowledge that we don't own anything, and they can always take that away.
Like, I
Uh,
don't know what the circumstances and situations would need to be to make it happen, but we could wake up tomorrow and Steam could be like, "Yep, we're throwing in the towel. Sorry."
Bye. Sorry that we took all your money. Epic bought us.
Like, yeah, even then, like, it would have to, what would it take? Like, the government would have to be like, "Nope, no more video games. We're shutting it all down."
Yeah.
It would have to be, and even then, people would probably be like, "Okay, here's how you still obtain your license."
Yeah, you'd have to, I don't know, buy a huge hard drive and save all the games to the hard drive.
I mean, you say huge hard drives. Most people's libraries are what, 150, 200 games or something like that, maybe.
Uh, yeah, they're not us.
Yeah, well, I definitely have way more than that.
I have a few games on Steam. I have well above 600 games, I think.
Whew.
Something like that. I think.
Uh, I started getting into this game during the Orange Box, and I have 369 games.
Uh,
369er.
so I have a lot of hidden games. Let me see how many. Trying to find out where that number is at. Um,
And the reason this is important is because at least half of these I like to play, like, sometimes just conveniently, like whenever the spur of the moment strikes me.
I'm seeing
And
right now with
licensing could give
yeah,
up and they could just be like, sorry, you don't have access to any of these things you paid for. That sucks.
without hidden games, I'm seeing like 400, and then there's a bunch of hidden games that I would have to go look at as well.
And wouldn't
Um,
that suck if one day Sony slash Steam slash I don't know what would have to happen to make it, but it could happen where they just be like, sorry, no more.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that's gonna happen with, you know, our with Steam, just with how ubiquitous it is. But we could have said the same thing about GameStop 20 years ago. Ah,
Yeah.
that's GameStop's never going out of business. It'll be fine. What?
What do you mean the movie theaters are going under? What do you mean people aren't watching movies? What are they doing?
I don't know. People are still watching movies. They still have huge opening nights and all that. Like that's just they're just trying to scare you so they don't have to give people proper pay. We're gonna move on to our next story. Did you hear about the GTA 6 leak?
Yeah, I remember it happening and then being like, oh, it looks kind of like GTA 5, huh? And
I don't even think we covered it.
I think we brought it up and there was so little to talk about with it where we're like, huh, yeah, again, it sure looks like a dev build of GTA 5 where like you could spawn in whatever. And then I remember even then Rockstar being like, "Oh, we're gonna retaliate super duper hard,"
Yeah.
and that's exactly what they did.
They did. They did. TechSpot. This is a story from TechSpot, but the story is also listed a bunch of other places. 18-year-old Arian Kurtaj from Oxford, UK, was one of two teens behind the hack on Rockstar Games last year that led to a flood of GTA 6 content hitting the internet. Kurtaj carried out the attack while on bail for hacking NVIDIA and British Telecom BTEE. Oh, that's great. We went on bail and was like, you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hack something else.
I'm gonna do it again, motherfucker.
Despite staying in a hotel under police protection and having his laptop confiscated, Turtaj was able to hack Rockstar using the rooms included Amazon Fire Stick and a newly purchased phone, keyboard, and mouse.
That'll
I
do it.
love
Go
I
go
love
down
this
to
kid.
CVS, buy a burner, and yeah, like, I know we're not supposed to advocate or condone what he's doing, but, pretty based. Pretty
Yes,
based.
good job. Um,
I
he
do
broke.
like the idea that he was under protection, which makes I know this isn't what happened, but there's a reality where in Rockstar is like, "We are going to get this guy so hard. Send in, I don't know, the hitmen. Send in the Pinkertons." And the police are like, "Whoa, okay. You need to go into the safe room now." And he's like, "A safe room with a fire stick?"
Nice. He broke into Rockstar's internal Slack system and threatened to release the source code if the company did not contact him on Telegram. The incident led to his final arrest. They didn't have to go very far. They were outside the room. I love it. They're like, "Hey, this guy's hacking us." And they're like, "John, what, or Arian, what are you doing? I'm in the room with you."
Put that down.
Stop it. Back in July, it was reported that Kurtaj, who is also behind an attack on Uber, what the fuck?
I'm noticing a little bit of an escalation.
Yeah. Had deemed mentally unfit to stand trial in a London court, meaning the jury could not determine whether he committed the crimes he was accused of, or rather than judging him guilty or not guilty. So ultimately what they've done here is instead of uh, placing him like in prison, they're placing him in basically a prison hospital. They're putting him into a mental hospital until he's deemed fit to either stand trial or get released. Rockstar Games has told the court that it lost $5 million from this hack, as well as thousands of hours of staff time. Kurtaj's defense team tried to argue that the success of the recently revealed official GTA 6 trailer showed his hack had not caused serious harm to the developer. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they were out any money or anything. I think
I
that's
don't
just
think it hurt
bullshit.
their bottom dollar at all. In
No.
fact, I think this is the exact sort of thing that Rockstar typically tries to do intentionally so that they don't need to pay for advertising. They just like get some sort of scandal. It's literally the page from their book.
Yeah.
Except, boy, did they throw the book at this guy. And I know it's
Well,
not just this. I know it's this and the Uber and the everything, but
yeah.
like, damn, that's harsh.
Also, he's good. He's good.
He's good.
Yeah.
He should
Um,
get picked up by like he probably uses drugs. That's probably why he's not already picked up by like CSI or the FBI or whatever.
Probably. There was another article that I found on this that had a little bit more detail that said uh part of the reason why they put him in the hospital and they're not letting him go is because they're like he's a threat outside. Like they know he's going to do it again because he said if I get let out, I'm going to do it again. Which
He's looking forward to it even.
yeah, he's like once I get out, I'm hacking something else. Um good. I mean, yeah.
I
It's
feel like this sort of weaponized volatility could probably be directed towards a productive source.
yeah, that would be nice. There
Like,
was
I don't want the guy to be locked up because,
no.
gosh, that doesn't seem like the right response for somebody sending lines of code. But B, the guy obviously knows what he's doing.
He's
Get him in
also
a teaching environment.
yeah, I mean, he's what? He's young. He's 18 years old. So
That doesn't
it's
mean shit. He knows what
well,
he's doing.
no, no,
He's
no.
done it.
Let me back up here. He's 18 years old. He's very smart. He knows what he's doing. But then you also know 18-year-olds. You've been an 18-year-old. You could be very smart and still be a dumbass.
He's fine. It's 18. That
Yeah,
literally means we could beat him up.
yeah. And what happens is, he's thinking, oh man, I could hack this thing. But he doesn't think there are officers right outside my fucking door that can take me down. So I think he probably needs to grow up a little bit. I still don't think prison or being locked up is really the answer. But yeah, focusing that intelligence and that hacking ability into more productive means would be the best. There is one other thing. There was another person, as mentioned earlier in the article. There was a 17-year-old, cannot be named for legal reasons. He was found guilty in the same trial, and he's been sentenced to 18-month youth rehabilitation order. Has
Yeah.
supervision, surveillance, and a ban on using VPNs. He was also sentenced for an unpleasant and frightening pattern of stalking and harassment of 2 young women.
Well, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do
But
that.
like
Definitely.
the 18 months, that sounds more appropriate.
Right. Right. And instead of the Aryans was indefinite. He is indefinitely going to be held in that mental institution, I believe.
No, they're trying to throw a book at somebody, and I mean, yes, like when you look at all the crimes, it's not great, but
Right.
damn, homie can do it.
I
Homie's on
know.
fire. Let him cook. He's got something.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's very talented, I will say that. But yeah, he's probably also on drugs. And
I
we're gonna,
do have one
huh?
last thing to say before we go on. There's a photo of him where it looks like he's caught in some sort of big fish,
Yeah.
but his face is blurred, which leads me to think that he is the fish. Prove me wrong.
Yes.
That's a very misleading photo. That's all I wanted to say. It made me chuckle when I saw it like that.
Yes, that's interesting. No, I probably just doesn't want to show his face because that might also be that might have been released when he was under 18 as well.
I figured it was because he was a minor when it was taken or something like that.
Yeah,
Or maybe he's a fish. I'm not saying
maybe,
he's not a fish. I'm just being
maybe.
open minded.
We're gonna move on to our last story, and our last story is silly. So it's sillier than that one. Uh, They have those. Are they 12 pin, 16 pin? I think they're 16 pin adapters for the new graphics
GPUs.
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're bad. They're really bad. Everybody knew. So one thing about the cards is the new adapters. They adapt your what is it to 12 volt. They take everything to 12 volt. It's supposed to be a smaller connector, so you don't have these giant like 3 8-pin connectors going into your super power hungry GPUs. However, one of the parts with the spec is that, like, with like USB-C, you unplug and plug in your phone like at least once a day, right?
Ye- Give or take, yeah. I'd probably say every day and a half or so.
Yeah, and you're able to do that. They've tested the USB-C spec to go for a few thousand times at least, like 5,000 to 10,000 times. You're able to unplug and plug in without that port being messed up. So you expect that when you buy something, you're able to plug it in, and unplug it without having much of an issue.
Yes, I expect that the ports on the device that I purchase all work, like
Yeah.
fresh out the box. In fact, I
So
would even go as far as to say it would be ludicrous to recommend somebody need to modify the ports before they install it. But
right,
go on.
right. But one thing about that spec is when it first came out, they might have updated it since then, but I doubt it. Is that you can only unplug and plug it in safely. The recommended amount of times is 20 times. That is before the port wears out.
I mean, I get it. And unless you're doing like a render farm or something like that, these probably aren't parts that you're popping out and in too many times for the life of their running.
I agree, but also, there are people who, review computer components, and they have to swap out graphics cards all the time, and so they could ruin those ports very, very quickly. And another thing is they're melting. They're all melting.
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say they're a dumpster fire, but a computer fire is actually much more accurate.
yeah, so they say it's because and by they I mean the the people who make the port, that conglomeration, say that it's because when they plug it in, and they're not plugging it in firmly, like securely, and there's a little bit of wiggle room, and that is causing the adapter and everything to melt. In Insofar as it's melting the plastic around the connector into the the reciprocal, the thing that's taking it.
Receptacle.
receptacle. There we go. Sorry about that. Um, and that's not good, and it's causing bad things. And so what they have suggested here is that you have to bend the cable correctly. You're a youngin. Did you ever have to like mess around with IDE cables?
Yeah, sure.
And like with the original Xbox, you had to fold the IDE cables in a specific way so
You
that
had to
it
like
would get
crimp
in
them
the
to the leads. Yeah.
yeah. Well, just so that it would fit and like be kind of flat, you had to like fold it over itself quite a bit. And that's kind of what they're recommending you do here. They're like, you need it to be straight. Like the cable needs to be straight. You can't have it at like a super sharp 90-degree angle. It has to go straight for a long time before it like bends a little bit to go in. And so what we want you to do is you need to loosen those cables a little bit so that you can bend them correctly. So use a fucking hair dryer on your 4090. Um and that's not good.
No.
Um and just admit it. Admit that this was a mistake. That we need to not use this as a power connector anymore because there have been so many issues with this particular power connector since it came out.
There's
Um
probably a whiteboard somewhere in the NVIDIA offices or, whoever the manufacturers are, with the words recall written on it, and they're just trickling closer and closer to that point where it's like it is not financially advisable for us not to recall these things.
yeah, and it says besides bending the cables at the correct angle with a gentle heat source, you're also expected to do this bending process when the cable is outside of the case and is not connected to your power supply or GPU. You aren't meant to install the power cabling until you've done all the necessary pre-bending and are expected to install the cabling very carefully afterwards.
That's some technical writing lawyerese, but it does propose the situation where somebody's like, "All right, I've got it plugged in. Now to bend it in place.
Just
Don't do
doesn't.
that. Don't touch it when it's plugged in."
Yeah, don't no. What are you doing? Why are you putting the Oh, sorry, you put the side panel on it. It bumped the cable. Now you have to remove it all.
Here, let me just put this heater on it while it's running. Huh, my computer overheated. That's weird.
Yeah, I just it sucks because like it's such a stupid thing. Like they didn't need to do this. And I understand that they're like, "Hey, we've came up with this cool solution that makes it so there's less cable like mess in your computer." Cuz you built computers, like dealing with cable mess is like half the process of building a computer.
Not that I particularly follow this advice, but let me just tell you a little secret here. You don't have to do the cable management, my homie. It could look like a mess in there.
I know. I am terrible at cable
I
management. I'm
always do
so
my
awful.
cable management. My computer only has one cable that I'm not happy with, and it needs to be there because of where the pump is. But hey, it looks good in there. I'll take it.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like this is not a great solution here. They need to work on something else or just switch back to using 8-pin connectors or maybe release graphics cards that don't require 3 8-pin connectors to power up.
I wouldn't be surprised if the next generation of architecture, I'm not going to say they're going to tune down the power, but it's probably going to focus on matching the same output with less actual like oomph in the engine. Like this is just too much. It's too
Yeah.
much power draw. You shouldn't be having to worry about, oh, my component melted while I
Yeah.
was using it.
Yeah. So, we're done. We're done. It's a short
That's it.
podcast, yeah? We
It's the
it's
very rear of the podcast. Speaking of rears, I do have one more little story to talk about. I didn't have like an article to bring up, but you know Overwatch?
Yeah, I do. I know Overwatch.
You know Tracer, one of the I'm gonna just say one of the more
Heroes.
appealing heroes of the game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Apparently they nerfed her. They nerfed her appeal.
Did they?
Apparently, some of her more valuable assets have been removed.
They they
Uh,
they made her have a flat butt.
they deflated her booty.
Yeah. I tried to look because you had posted a YouTube or a was it a Twitter thing? You posted something. But I
Two
couldn't.
separate people on Twitter who are reacting to it. I went to go find a story for this, and what happened is I opened up Google and I typed in Tracer Overwatch, and now my computer needs like to talk to a counselor. It's uh,
you
I
you
should not have Googled that.
you
There's
should
some
have you should have not set your default search engine to DeviantArt. That's the
that was
problem.
my first mistake. It was there was so much porn. What are you
I'm
people doing all day?
Well, they're obviously making Overwatch porn. That's
They're
what they're
making
doing.
Overwatch porn. So I tried to find an article talking about this, but was quickly overwhelmed with, and I kid you not, an overwhelming amount of degenerate pornography.
I just looked up like just trying to look up a news story saying about them changing her character model or whatnot, and the
Don't
only
Google
thing
the words choice or butt. Don't do it.
okay, I won't. But all I found was articles from like 7 years ago, where they had changed her pose.
I remember that because it
What?
was controversial. They're like, she wouldn't stand like that, and you guys are like, you're right, she wouldn't. It needs to be more sexy.
Yeah. So unfortunately, they made her butt smaller. I guess I don't know. I don't really check out video game characters. Never been my thing.
Yeah, I've known people who are like, if I'm playing a character, I'm playing a girl, so I could look at the butt, and I was just like, it's kind of weird, dude.
Yeah.
Kind
Well,
of, kind of a
and that's
weird thing to say.
and my thing is that's that oftentimes that's in like MMORPGs when people do that, and I'm like, typically if I'm playing an MMORPG, I'm paying attention to anything but my character model.
Right. It's like one of the main appeals that these games are going out to explore. I'm not looking at the same thing that's always there.
Yeah. Anyway, it's silly.
Man.
But
One of the games I didn't mention that I've been playing lately is Warcraft 3.
oh yeah.
Uh, a friend of mine bought it for me for Christmas, which was weird. I totally wasn't expecting like anything.
Yeah.
And boy, playing these games sure do kind of make me want to go play some World of Warcraft again. I was
Now
sort of hoping Aroa would be here so he could, swap my hand and talk me out of this bad idea.
don't do it.
But some time in a classic server, I could go check out Frozen Throne. I never got to do that.
So
I could join an RP server. I can like that was one of my most fun experiences was just finding people to dick around with like in between missions and stuff like that.
I need to ask you, were you playing Warcraft 3 the remake or were you playing the original?
Somebody purchased the remake, reforged they call it for me, like the super duper edition too.
Oh,
It went on sale. I get like why it happened when it happened, but I totally wasn't expecting it. It made my day.
is it
Uh,
good?
but mm, they did fix some things, but they also broke some things.
Oh,
So
okay.
my biggest issue slash complaint with it is when I went to go receive the gift, there was an issue, and I had to reach out to their support team. And basically, what happened is my Blizzard account is so old that I have the original Warcraft 3 on my account,
Yeah.
and they're like, "No, you can't have this game. You already own it. Look, it's right there." And I had
Oh,
to be like, "This isn't the new one. This is the original." Like, I took a photo of my battle box, and it was like, "Nope, here, I am the original owner. Still got it."
I've
The person who I was talking to said he respected my senior account, and I was like, "Is this what it like? Is this what it feels like to be a boomer?"
Yep, yep, you're gonna you need to go up to like I don't know, some cafe or whatnot and be like, I can get the senior discount now, and then pull out your battle box.
I'd been playing Warcraft 3 since this fuck 2001, 2000.
Something
I
like
don't want to
that.
think about this anymore. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you for being here. Merry birthday or whatever.
Mayor Crimbo.
Yeah, or happy Hanukkah. I think Hanukkah's already done. Whatever holidays you celebrate, happy that. Goodbye.
Happy Kwanzaa, everyone.